Okay. Hi everyone. As this is our first class, first let me share my screen and then I'll introduce myself. All right. I'm Divya. I have about 7.6 years of experience, a real-time experience into data analytics. Currently, I'm working as a senior data analyst in one of the MNCs in Hyderabad. I completed my master's in data science and I have about 4+ years of experience into training. Okay, so I have experience in teaching subjects like SQL, Tableau, Power BI, Python, statistics, and machine learning. So this is about me. And as you all are here to learn SQL, today let's try to understand the basics of SQL. Okay. So before that, I can see some, you know, some people here. Can you please tell me, like, about yourself quickly? Either you can unmute yourself and you can speak, or else you can, just text in a chat. Just tell me, like, are you from IT background or non-IT background, and do you have any basics on a SQL, or is this you're completely new to SQL kind of things? You can even text me also. Anything is fine. The reason why I'm asking this, in the sense, if you are completely new to SQL, I will explain from the, I mean, obviously, here I'll do explain each and every concepts from basics. If you are completely new to SQL also, you can understand each and every term here. From the scratch, I will explain each and every concept. Okay. Okay, Sunil. Okay. Okay. All right. I see some of you are from IT backgrounds and a few of you are from non-IT backgrounds. All right. Thank you, guys. So without any delay, let's get started. Okay, let me, as this is our first class, as this is our demo class, I will start explaining you from the scratch, because non-IT students will also be there in every batch of mine. So I will try to explain each and every term clearly from the scratch so that they can also understand and relate to the concepts. Okay. So SQL. Before understanding about SQL, first let's try to understand something about data. Okay, because in SQL, basically, we will deal with data only, right? We will store data in the form of databases and we will use SQL to deal with the databases. So first, let's talk about data a little bit and then I will get into the main concepts. So you all know nowadays we are generating a lots of data, correct? We started generating lots of data today. So what can be the reason behind that? Anyone? The first reason I can say is a kind of digitalization, right? Nowadays we are using, not nowadays, from many years we are using smartphones, but nowadays we are using smartphones and everything. We are using many applications, even from the time of COVID we started doing everything in online. Maybe it may be digital payments or it may be online shopping kind of thing, correct? And the daily basis also we all use smartphones and we all use many applications a lot, like maybe Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, correct? And we have many OTT platforms like Netflix, we have Hotstar, Prime, like that. We have many OTT platforms. And if you realize, from few years ago, maybe from COVID time, we started our, we are basically depending much on online, correct? So what is happening here, whenever we are with all these things, we are generating a lot of data. Okay. Because let me tell you a small example. Of course you all know that whenever we install any application in our phone, right? Maybe let's talk about any Netflix or any of the OTT platform. Correct. Whenever we install that application, what we will do first, we need to log in it either by using our mobile number or any Gmail ID. Correct. So whenever, maybe let's think about mobile number here or Gmail ID, anything is fine. We will just log in it. We will keep some password, and by default we will give the permissions for that application. Right? By default, we will give some give some agreements, or we'll just click S. Basically, by doing that, we are giving permissions to Netflix to access our data. Correct? And if you remember, each of us, we will have generally any account, email accounts, right? Like maybe Gmail or anything. Whenever we first create the Gmail account, if you remember, we need to give some data over there. Correct? We will give our name, right? We'll give the whatever Gmail ID we will creating. Along with that Gmail ID, some details also we will give to the particularly Gmail or Google, whatever it is, or what kind of details we will give: our name, even gender, mobile number. Correct. So maybe that Gmail account. So i- by default, we are giving our data to Google or Gmail or whatever it is, whatever mail it is. For them, we are giving our name information, our gender information, our age information, and our mobile number. Correct. Whenever we are storing these details, by default, all these details will store with that Gmail account. Correct. And that Gmail account and mobile numbers will be linked with each other, and whatever apps we use in our smartphones, maybe OTT apps, maybe shopping apps like Amazon, Flipkart, eCart, any kind of e-commerce websites, everywhere, whenever we are installing every applications, whenever we are installing in our smartphones, we are accepting some kind of agreements. We'll just click, right? They will ask us to give some permissions. We'll just click S, and uh, we'll just start using them. At that time, basically what we are giving, either we will use our mobile number or we will use our Gmail account to log into that all the remaining apps, like maybe Amazon, Netflix, like that. So at that time, we are giving permission to Netflix or Amazon apps to use our whatever we stored first, while we are creating that Gmail accounts. So by default, all those apps will have this each and every information we stored whenever we are creating that Gmail. Okay, did you got my point? The reason why I'm explaining all these things is, whatever we are doing nowadays in mobiles or in applications, everything, maybe it is banking related applications, everywhere our data is storing. We are giving permissions to everyone to access our data, knowingly or unknowingly. Of course, there is no other option. We need to click S only. Correct. We will give them permissions, and then we will install that applications. So I'm just explaining you all these things to make you understand how we related to data nowadays. That much, that is the importance of data nowadays. By using all these applications, we are generating data. That is nothing but data. Correct? So as we are generating this much of data, there should be definitely some good, the good systems to maintain the data, right? So here comes the term called as database. Okay, let's talk about database, but let's give some pause here. Let me talk about digitalization more. I hope whatever example I given you, you got a clarity, or you got a clear you got my point, right? Do you agree that we are generating data, a lot of data nowadays?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Guys, my request, please, let's keep this session interactive. Okay, so that even I will get interest, and I can understand whether whatever I'm telling you is that understandable for you or not. Of course, I just said some basics only for now, still. Okay, so yeah, with that example, clearly I can say that we are generating lot of data, right? Not only smartphones, everything, whatever we are using. Correct. Nowadays, even we have so many gadgets that are connected to the internet, right? Like TVs, ACs, we have Alexa, Series, everything we are, those all things are connected to the internet, and everyone of us are using them on daily basis, at least smartphones. So what is happening here, by increasing the usage of all these things, we are generating the data lot. Okay, and basically this data, each and every company, as I'm saying, not only this data, okay, to maintain our complete data, each and every company, each and every application, they will maintain the data in their databases, and according to that databases, according to the data they maintain in their databases only, they will analyze the data, and by analyzing the data only, they will take some business decisions over there. That again, I don't touch that part, that will goes to the data analytics part. For now, as you are here to learn SQL, I just wanted you to know the importance of data. That is the reason I just explained that example for you. Okay, so not only the generation, I mean the usage of smartphones or generating the data, even if I talk about storage capacity is also increased nowadays, right? Previously in phones we used to have a little bit of memory, like maybe 16 GB, 64 GB we used to use, correct? Nowadays the GB is also increased, like the storage capacity is also increased. Nowadays how much GBs we are using? Maybe 128 GB to 60 to 56 GBs, like that, correct? Suppose nowadays, if of course we everyone are using the storage capacity higher mobile phones only, but still if I can ask you, can you buy a new phone with 64 GB and but you never run out of the memory? Is that possible?
No, ma'am.
Not possible.
Possible, actually possible, because of the cloud, correct? Of
Oh, yeah.
course, we individually we never we never prefer to do so, as we habituated to use a I mean big kind of memory phones, like 256 GB of phones. We never try to buy a new phone with 16 GB or 64 GB. That is our human nature, of course, I agree that. But again, if we use also, we don't it won't affect on our memory. We never run out of the memory because of the cloud. Okay. Now storage is moved from physical device to cloud storage, correct? And what is the benefits of cloud storage? Actually we can access our data from anywhere we want, correct? We have many cloud apps, like maybe if I talk about Google only, we'll have Google Photos, we'll have Google Drive, where we are just directly we are storing our files in it, right? From anywhere we want, from any device we want, we can open them and we can access it, right? Instead of how I'm just trying to explain you how we are from generations, from some a few years, how the data is increasing, how we are developing according to the society or according to the developments we are getting in the society, correct? Previously we don't have all these things, correct? As in the previous years, few years before, there is no this much of technology is there, correct? Nowadays storage is also moved from physical device to cloud storage, and you know uh, we can, as I said, the advantage of using the cloud storage is that we can access our data from wherever we want, correct? Because in organizations also, what is happening, they cannot store their data in hardwares. Previously if we talk about any small companies or schools, they used to store their data in files, right? Before computer, they used to store in files. After computers came into existence, they started storing their data inside the computers in some Excel files. But nowadays everything is increased. Along with that, Excel files or normal hardwares is also not sufficient, like any hardware devices is also not sufficient. Everyone is trying to even they are trying to increase their storage capacity, and they are everyone are preferring to use clouds. Each and every organization is preferring to use clouds, and in the cloud storage only they are storing their data, correct? So the reason why I'm giving you all these scenarios is, first of all, as you are here to learn SQL, you need to understand the importance of data nowadays, and in this generation, current generation, how we are connected to the data. Then only you can learn, or you can relate it to it very clearly, correct? So As I'm saying, everything, whatever we are using, all those apps or websites and everything we are storing and maintaining in the data only. So we should have a databases, correct? To maintain the data properly, we should have a databases. Obviously, as we are storing this data, everything is running on the data. There should be one system which helps us to maintain this data, correct? That is nothing but database. Here comes the picture of database. So first, again, to understand database and to understand, let's talk about database and SQL here. Till here, I said you just everything to make you understand what is the importance of data and how we are connecting to the data nowadays. Okay, as we are generating a lot of that data, each and every company they need to store their data in a very good, in a they need to maintain something to maintain their data perfectly, right? So that is the reason we all the companies or everywhere, however our data is increasing day by day, everyone is using databases to store their data. Database is nothing but, I can say, if you want me to tell the technical definition of database, it is nothing but collection of data, right? Where we will store the data or collection of data, I can say, right? And then what is a database exactly, what is SQL exactly, let me tell you by using one simple example. Okay, I can tell you directly technical definitions also, but as we'll have so many students from non-IT in each of my batch, to make them understand clearly, I will take one normal example. By that, you can really relate everything, and you can understand easily what is database and what is SQL. Okay, let me just a second. All right. So now let's try to understand what is a SQL and what is database by taking one sample example, one simple example. Okay. Suppose there is one school. Suppose imagine there is one school. Okay. In that school, I'm having all the classes, but let's talk about 10th class. Okay. Suppose I'm having 10th A and 10th B in the school. Okay. So in every section, let's talk about only 10th A. What in the school, what they will do in 10th A and 10th B, or in every section, they will maintain one register. Okay. In that register, they will maintain all the student details. Either, in our childhood also, we know we used to have registers in our classes, right? The same way. Of course, Sachin. In a while, after explaining this example, I will tell you the difference between SQL and MySQL. Okay, just give me 5 minutes. So yeah, first let's try to understand about what is SQL and what is database. Then I will explain everything very detailedly about the MySQL or tools we have. Okay, so now let's concentrate. As I'm saying, this is one school and we are having two sections in it. So in each section, they will maintain one register. Okay, so in that registers, what they will do, they will maintain some student details, maybe student ID, that is roll number, correct, and maybe student name, maybe student marks, attendance, like that. Okay, they will maintain some details in this register. On the daily basis, they will enter the details and they will maintain the registers. Again, in that school, there is obviously there will be one principal, right? One day, this principal wanted to analyze the students' data, wanted to see the performance of the students, and he called his peon. Okay, and he said to his peon that go to 10th A and bring the register. Okay. Then what peon did? He went to the 10th A, he took the register and he gave back to the principal. Clear? So now principal, with the help of this register, he just saw whatever he want. What kind of data he want to see, he saw by using this register. Okay. This is what it is. If we are storing the data and normally in the registers, this is what it happens. Okay, if I want you to say the same example, see here in the school, instead of storing the student details in the register, if they store the details in the kind of a system or a laptop, I mean the system. Okay, let's talk about computers here. Instead of registers, previously few years ago everything was stored, not only the school, even in the industries also, everything was stored in the form of books only, registers only, right? Everything was stored in the form of papers only. But nowadays all the files are storing in computers nowadays. Not only nowadays, few years ago when computers came into existence, we started storing all the data from books to the computers, right? So suppose in the same example, instead of storing this data in the form of register, if they store the same data in the form of computers, then how it will be, let me tell you. So here, instead of registers, suppose imagine that in the computer or in something else they store the data. Okay, so how we will understand the whole concept here in the sense, here the school, okay, the school will become the data. I mean, if they store the data in the form of computers, in the sense, if this is a school, I mean, if I'm taking, as I'm taking the example of school, maybe there are a few students only, so they can store the details in Excel file also. But if this example is about any university, any big university or any big company, they cannot store big data in Excel file, right? They need to store this data inside the, of course, the laptop or somewhere it is, but they need to store the data in the database only. Correct. So let's try to relate it with each and every terms here. So the school or class will be a data, so this one will be the database here. I mean, it's not the school, the laptop actually, or the computers where they are storing the data will be the database. We can understand the school or the organization. Obviously, it will be the organization only. If they are storing the data in the form of, instead of registers, if they are storing in the data in the form of computers, that computers will become our database. Let me use another color here. Okay, so this computer will become our database now, right? That means instead of storing the data in the form of registers, they are using databases. Inside the databases, what they will do, they will create some tables. Okay. Inside the tables, they will enter the data. Generally, this is what it happens whenever we are storing the data in the databases. Okay, first we will create the database. Okay, inside the database we need to create the tables, and inside the tables we will insert the data. So in this complete example, let's understand that if they are storing, instead of registers, if they are storing the data in the computers, first they will create the database in the computer. Inside the database, I can say, instead of registers, I will call register as my table. Correct? Right? And inside the table, as in registers, how we are storing some data, inside the tables, we will store the data over there. Did you got my point?
Yeah. Ma'am, actually,
Mhm.
database in the sense it's a registers.
Actually, yes. Suppose instead of here, what it is happening in school, directly they used one register and they entered some details here, right?
Yes. That
Instead
is called
of,
database.
yeah, instead of registers, if you're storing the data in the database, this is called, of course, registers is called as database. But inside the database, again, we will create some tables to store the data. Something like in register also, we will have some like this of lines, right? Maybe we will maintain some kind of lines to write it. If we are talking about any page, we will have some boxes like this, right, to maintain it correctly. In the same way, we can understand in this register can be understand as a database. Okay, inside the inside the database, again we will create some tables, and inside the tables we will insert the data, so that if we create tables, it will, whatever data we are inserting in the database, that will look like this, like this, maybe like this. I will show you in a while. In the register, how we will have all the boxes, horizontal lines and vertical lines, just to store the data in a perfect order. Inside the database, we will create some tables, and inside the tables, we will create some data. But actually, to this example indicates that the register is nothing but a database here. Okay.
Yeah. One more question, madam.
Yes,
See,
please.
we are entering to the data for
Mhm.
the for any in the computer in the system. We
Okay.
need to be install anything like DBase software or like that. What actually it is? So see, data I am entering in Excel, for example. Some
Okay.
Excel I want to enter some data,
Okay.
some roll numbers and age and
Okay.
gap. So that's
Yes.
the data. Okay, ma'am.
Correct. Correct.
So for that, like that, they have DBase is there in the database, like
Yeah.
software,
Okay.
something
I
like.
got your question. Let me tell you. So that is what our next class. Okay. We will, as I'm saying, instead of, storing the data in the registers, we can store the data in the databases, right? Suppose, as you are saying, my data is a little bit of data. My company is very small, or else my school is very small. I having some hundreds of data. I can use Excel file directly. I can open the Excel file in my laptop, and I can store all the details over there. But if my company is large, next class we will discuss, if we can able to store data in Excel file, then what is the need of databases. So at that time you will clearly understand why database came into the picture. But again, as you are asking, let me tell you, Excel file is that to we can, if we can store small amount of data, then we can, no problem, we can store the data directly in the Excel files. But if it is a big data, I'm talking about Amazon, in Amazon or any other big companies, if they are big data, we cannot store all that data in the Excel files, right? So that is the reason they will maintain databases in each and every company. They will maintain some databases. The database is nothing but is physical, I can say we will create the databases, while learning we will create a database in our softwares. But we can imagine that as a database is something like a cloud, where in that physical storage we are storing the data, like that. Don't worry now. If you listen today and tomorrow's class, you will get clear idea about what you are asking. Okay, Ramu?
My point is that, madam,
Mhm.
see, we are putting database, right?
Correct.
So I wanted to be know that whether it is in Excel form or like Excel, there's a separate
No, no, it's not Excel. Database is completely, we will create whatever tools we use. Okay. Immediately after this example, I will tell you the difference
yeah,
between what
okay.
is SQL and what is MySQL. At that time, I will explain you, in each and every tool we will create the databases. Database is not like Excel. That is, we will create it normally. For that, we will install some softwares here. But to store that data, it is a kind of software, you can imagine. Or else you can imagine that whatever data we are storing, that is, maintaining in one kind of server.
Oh, that's what
Okay.
I'm on. That's what. Okay.
Okay, that is
So
what you're
we
asking,
are
right?
whatever the records we are putting in that we are putting into the server.
Yes, we will actually, inside the database, we'll create tables and we will insert the data. But that all the data will be, we can imagine that that is storing completely on the server in the database. That is completely a cloud kind of thing. Don't worry, Ramu, just hold on, please.
Yeah,
Let
yeah.
me
Yeah.
continue. If you
So we
attend
are.
today and tomorrow class, you will get a clarity. That is the reason I'm explaining from scratch. Like, I'm literally taking school example, and I'm trying to tell you all the words over there. Okay. Thank you. So that is what I'm trying to say. So we have school, and the school, if we store the data in the form of registers, as I said, if I want to relate it to the database, I can say, instead of registers, here I'm storing the data in the databases. But again, in the database, what I will do, I will create some tables, and inside the tables, let me just rub something here. Okay, I'm just erasing here so that I can write. So instead of, what we will do in database, we will create some tables. Okay. Inside the tables, we will store the data. Okay. Just try to understand these points again. Whenever we will see directly, whenever we are creating, you will understand very clearly. But now, for now, just understand, instead of registers, if we are storing the data in the database, this register will become our database. Inside the database only, we will store the data. But again, to store the data, we will create tables. Okay. For now, just understand that registers is nothing but database here. Okay, and I'm saying whenever you can hear me, right?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, sorry, I thought that I was disconnected for a while. I have some internet fluctuations. So okay, so as I'm saying that in this previous example scenario, there is a principal in the school and he wanted to analyze the data of the students, right? Then what principal did? He called his peon and he said to peon that go and bring the register. Correct? So here also, whenever we want to analyze, suppose let me take the same school example. Instead of registers, they stored the students' data in the database, and whenever principal want to see the data or analyze the data, instead of calling peon here, if in the form of registers, he called peon and he said that go and bring the register. While communicating, he might use some language, right? He might explain, he might tell this peon in either English, Hindi, Telugu, whatever it is. He might speak some language to make peon understand what he wants. Correct? Suppose let's imagine this principal said to peon in English language that go and take the or bring the register to me. Then only peon understood that principal want that register, and he went to the register and he went to the class and took the register and gave to the principal. In the same way, if I store the data in the database, sorry, if where is this? God. Okay, so if I store the data in the database to make principal wanted to know that he wanted to analyze the information of the student. So as how he communicated with the peon by using some language, maybe English or Hindi, if the data is in the form of database, obviously there should be one language which we use to communicate with the database, right? That language is nothing but SQL. I'll explain once again. Here I'm saying this principal, what he did, he called his peon and he said go and bring the register. He might explain, he might tell either in English, Hindi or his regional language. Correct? Then only peon understood. He went to the class, he bring the register and gave back to the principal. Now instead of registers, everything physical storage, it went to the cloud storage kind of things. We have large data in that school, so instead of registers, they stored every data inside the database. Now what principal will do, to if we want to see some particular data, he should use some language to make database understand what he want. As how he used English language to understand peon, to make understand to peon, to convey to peon what he want, he might use English or Telugu, right? In the same way, if the data is stored in the database, what principal should use? He will use some language to communicate with the database. That language is nothing but a SQL. SQL is a language, we'll call it as structured query language, which is used to communicate with the database. Basically, if I want to see only one particular student data, if I want to see any particular class data, I need to tell to database that I want that data, right? So to explain to database what is my requirement, I will use a language called as SQL. Did you got my point?
Yes.
So that is what it is. That is what database and SQL is. Okay, basically I'm just clearing my screen, and now I will tell you the technical definitions. Okay, where is our previous sheet? Sorry guys, here I opened everything. Okay, let me write here only. So somewhere I wrote previously. All right, so let me write once again here. So I'm saying now we got idea something about database, right? I guess in this file, that is a separate file. Sorry guys. So now with the example of the school, I said you like, if instead of storing the data in registers, we are storing the data in the databases. And to understand what is his requirement, he said to Pune in some language. In the same way, if my data is stored in the database, if I want to see some kind of data, I need to use some language to make database understand what I want. That is nothing but SQL. SQL, in the sense, if you want to tell me the full form of SQL, that is nothing but structured query language. Okay. The full form of SQL is structured query language. If I to tell the technical definition of database is nothing but collection of data. What is database? In the sense, I can say collection of data, where we are storing data collectively in one place. Okay. Collection of data. Database is nothing but collection of data. Okay. SQL is nothing but, the full form is structured query language, but the definition of SQL is nothing but it is a language which we use it to communicate with the database. Let me write it here. SQL is a language which we used to communicate with the database. Okay. By using SQL only, we will try to communicate with the database that what we want exactly, what kind of data we want, what kind of data we want to see, we want to retrieve, like that. So this is the basic understanding of what is SQL and what is database. Is that clear, these two terms for everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. I hope everyone is clear, guys. If anyone didn't understand anything, you can ask me then and there. Okay. All right. So now, as I said, suppose let's see in this file. This is my Excel file, correct? Suppose I'm storing some data here. This is my employees data, I can say, or else, as we are talking about students, let me write it as students table only. So inside I will use some columns here. Maybe student ID, okay, student name, and maybe student age, something like that. Okay. So in Excel file, if I'm storing data like this, I will enter some random data here. Okay. I entered only 2 rows here. This is my table name. This is my column. This is my column name. And this is my data. Okay. So in Excel file also, what we will do, whatever we want to enter the data, we will enter in, like this normally, right? In one box kind of thing. In the same way, in the tables also, whenever we are storing the data in the tables, it will look like this. Tables are made up of the combination of rows and columns. Okay, that means this is my table name, that is students, and horizontal part is called as rows. Okay, this thing, horizontal line is called as rows, vertical line is called as columns. Okay, this is columns, this is rows here. That means student ID is my column, and this complete data is belongs to student ID, right? As I'm saying, vertical thing is called as column. So student ID is one column, student name is one column, age is one column. If I talk about rows, this is my first row, this is my second row. Okay. So if we write like this, the rows and columns together will create one table for us. Okay. Clear, everyone? So in this, I can say we are having 3 columns, that is student ID, student name, and age. Inside that table, we are having 2 rows of data, that is student ID 1 and 2, student name is Raj, age is 20. This complete line will consider as a row. Okay. This is again a basic understanding. Here I'm writing in Excel file, but once we started understanding, MySQL, I will show you the user interface of MySQL, and we will see from scratch how we will create the database, how we will create the tables, how we will, create this columns, insert the data, everything. Okay, I hope this is clear for you now. That is the reason I'm saying first we will create the database. Inside the database, we will just create the tables. Okay, we will create the tables, and inside the tables we will insert the data, because we will create the tables basically to maintain the data properly, right? If I write like this only, it will make sense, right? To maintain the data properly, we will have multiple tables in the databases. So it is, let me tell you some more things here. First, let's try to understand about SQL and what is the difference of SQL and MySQL. Okay, so I think now what is row and what is column, and how we will basically like this we will use, this is called as a table, and inside the table this is called as column, and this is called as row. I hope this is clear for everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now what is SQL and what is MySQL in the sense? First, let me tell you that thing. As I said, SQL is a language. Okay, it is a universal declared language. Universally, we will use only one language called as SQL to communicate with the database. Okay, if you learn SQL, you can let me tell you, this is a language. Again, inside that language, we are having many tools like MySQL, Oracle SQL, okay, SQL Server, PostgreSQL. Like that, we are having many tools. Okay, these are just tools, each and every tool. Like first two tools, MySQL and Oracle SQL is a product of Oracle. SQL Server is a product of Microsoft. Like that, something like I can say in Android. uh, Guys, Sumit, can you please mute yourself? Thank you. So, as if I can make you understand clearly, I can say in Android phone, we will talk about Android, but we will have different companies in it, right? Right, like Samsung, OnePlus, right? The same way, the SQL is one language we will use to communicate with the database. To use the SQL, we'll have many tools. Okay, MySQL and Oracle SQL is a product of Oracle company. Previously, we used to have only Oracle SQL. Few years ago, they introduced MySQL, and this is a product of Oracle only. And the same way, SQL Server is a product of Microsoft. Like that, these are all the tools. But again, if you learn SQL, you can use any of these tools. If you know how to use an Android phone, with either it may be Samsung, either it may be OnePlus, you can manage it, right? The usage will be same, correct? In the same way, if you learn SQL, the usage will be same for all of these tools. Again, there is one more division here. The SQL is called as structured query language, but again, there are, if you are talking about database management system, okay, we are something called as DBMS, that is called as database management system, which is that is a completely, if to maintain the SQL, to learn the SQL, we need to understand what is DBMS. So here, we're going forward, we will learn something called as SQL only. I mean, by using MySQL, we will learn SQL, but whatever we will learn everything, how we are managing the databases by using SQL, we will learn. That is nothing but, I can say it as database management system. How we are managing the databases by using SQL. Okay. Again, there are two types of DBMS here. One is RDBMS. Okay, that is called as a relational database management system. In RDBMS only, we will store SQL in the form of, in RDBMS only, we will store data in the form of tables. Okay, inside the tables, first we will create rows and columns, and we will store the data. Obviously, SQL is a language to learn the DBMS, RDBMS, and we'll have something called as NoSQL. Here, let me write it as SQL. Okay, and we have something called as NoSQL. You might have heard about this NoSQL also. So here, if we learn SQL, in the SQL, to maintain the database, we will use RDBMS, that is Relational Database Management System, in which the tables are related to each other. We will have multiple tables in it, and all the tables are related to each other. The complete concepts we will learn going forward very clearly. Okay, but again, if you learn SQL, this tools, whatever tools I said you now, that tools, each and every tools follow our DBMS here. Okay, that means by learning this today's, I mean, if you join in this course, if you learn MySQL, you can able to you can able to learn, or you can able to access or perform. I mean, you can learn indirectly, or you can use indirectly Oracle SQL, SQL Server, PostgreSQL, like that. We have many tools under our DBMS. Okay, all those tools you can I mean, everything is same only. The syntax is, everything is same, no difference. If you learn anything, you can, you can use any of the tool. There will be very slight differences. I will tell you whenever we are discussing the syntaxes over there. Okay, like only one or two differences only we will have. Again, we have something called as NoSQL. In it, we don't follow our DBMS kind of thing. That means they will store the data inside the database only. We will store there also we will store the database in the form of tables only, but that tables are not related to each other. Okay, and what is the tools coming under NoSQL is mainly MongoDB. Okay, like that we are having some tools, but that is completely different. But if you learn this MySQL kind of thing, we will learn SQL is a universal language. Okay, we will store the data in the form of RDBMS. All these tools will come under RDBMS and SQL. Okay, and the reason why I'm explaining MySQL is that, as we are having this many tools, you can ask me then what is the specialty of MySQL. So I can tell simply that MySQL is open source platform. Okay, that means whatever company uses MySQL, it is freely available for everyone. Open source platform in the sense it is freely available for everyone. Whatever companies, whether it may be small, startups or big companies, whatever the companies are, if they are using MySQL databases, they no need to pay any amount to the Oracle. It is freely available. That is the reason nowadays every company, even the large companies, not only startups, even the big companies also preferring to use MySQL. And whenever, because of the competition, each and every company will introduce this kinds of tools. Previously in Oracle SQL, they used to, it is not open source platform. To maintain the Oracle SQL servers, each company should pay some amount to the Oracle. In the same way, to maintain the SQL server, SQL servers, every company should pay some amount to the Microsoft. Again, to just because of the competition, Oracle, what it did, it introduced MySQL and it made it as open source platform. They can use MySQL freely. And again, not only that option, he made some settings which, by which whenever we use Oracle SQL and SQL Server, whenever we are updating the data, we used to have a small kind of disadvantage or problem over there. He fixed that problem in the MySQL by coming up with a new setting, which I will tell you whenever we are learning about update command. Okay, some sort of, like this, whatever problems we used to face previously while using all these things, that problems he gave some solutions. And he introduced this, that Oracle people introduced this as an open source platform. Nowadays, everywhere you can see, mostly in most of the job descriptions, they are preferring MySQL only. Again, if you learn MySQL, you can also join as a SQL developer, I mean SQL Server developer also. You can both are same. As I said, Oracle SQL, SQL Server, PostgreSQL, everywhere in all these four tools, the syntaxes are same. If you learn this course, you can you can write the syntaxes in all the four tools. There won't be much differences, very slight difference, what I will explain at that time. I hope now you got an idea about, or the difference about SQL and MySQL. Is that clear? Sachin?
Yes, ma'am. I have question.
Yes, please.
MongoDB is a little bit different or totally different.
I'm sorry, I'm unable to understand.
MongoDB tool is different tool or little bit tool.
Yes, it is different.
Compare
It is
as,
different. Correct. Because that is what I explained here. This MongoDB is a NoSQL kind of thing. Here, they also store the data in the tables only, but that is not relational. The concepts will be little bit different. Again, the syntax is the main purpose of using the DBMS. Either we use this tools, either SQL or no SQL, our purpose is maintaining databases only. But RDBMS follow some kind of rules to maintain their databases, and NoSQL will follow some kind of rules to maintain their databases. So MongoDB will be exactly completely different from whatever we are learning in this. If we are learning MySQL, MongoDB is different, right?
Sure, thank you.
You're welcome. So this is about the introduction of tools. So that is the reason, as this is open source platform, each and every company are using MySQL. I'm teaching on MySQL. Okay. But as I said, if you learn MySQL, even you can directly use every syntax in SQL Server. You can install the SQL Server and you can use every syntax of the SQL Server. So this is about it. And did I missing any point here? I explained about RDBMS, all the tools here. Yes,
SQL
Nitin.
Server course, Server course is different and MySQL is different.
No, not like that. That is what I'm saying. If we learn
Yeah.
SQL, basically, let me show you the index first, okay? Then you can understand. Okay. This is the index. Our course is starting from today. From today, we will have 35 days of course, and the course fees is of 2000 only. Previously, we used to charge 6000, but from the last 3 batches, we are giving 2 batches. This is the third batch. For 3 batches, we will give some offer, and we are giving this for 2000 only. Again, this 35 days we will, this is the course content which we are going to follow. You will get the recorded videos of each and every day's class and materials, each and every topics which we cover here. And the specialty of my thing is that I won't teach the syntaxes or each and every concepts normally, like I don't teach in a theoretical way. I will teach everything very practically, that too by using a real-time database. Most of the institutes outside, you can observe, they will just teach you along with small examples. Maybe they will take employees table only and they will try to understand each and every concept on that. But once you go to your company, you will see the big data, right? In our rows, it won't be like 10 rows, 10 data like that. There will be thousands of data. You need to learn SQL in such a way that you need to understand, you need to uh, manage that kind of large data or big data. For that reason, here in my course, I'm using Netflix database to explain each and every concepts here. This is my course content. First, introduction to DBMS, I mean that database and SQL. Tomorrow I will explain you about limitations of Excel. As someone asked, we can store the data in the form of Excel also, right? If we are having Excel, then what is the need of databases? So we can, first, I will explain you the limitations of Excel. What are the problems we can face if we store big data in the Excel file, and how that problems are we can how that problems will be solved by using DBMS, that is databases or SQL. Okay, so tomorrow I will explain you about the limitations of Excel and how we are overcoming that limitations by using databases. Next, I will show you the MySQL user interface, and we will start from this third day. We will start learning everything very practically. We'll create databases tables. Then after you are done with the demo classes, I will show you the MySQL installation, data types, SQL commands. We are having sub languages in SQL. These are all the SQL commands: DDL, DML, TCL, DCL, DQL. I will teach each and every command in this. This is 5 types actually. In each type we are having multiple commands. I will explain multiple all the commands very detailedly. And next, we are having concept called as integrity constants, primary key, foreign key, like that. And next, select command, where clause. Okay, up to here I will use basic employees and students kind of data, so that at the starting you need to understand the concepts. This is a very little basics I can say. After that I will give you the movies database, that is a Netflix or any kind of OTT platforms database, where there will be some thousands of rows in it and multiple columns in real time whenever you join in any company. If you learn my course, you can, if you have some gap or if you have some, even you can directly enter into the in the SQL developer role with almost 3 to 4 years of, I hope you got my point. 3 to 4 years of experience kind of knowledge you will get once you listen my class. Okay. So that is the reason from here I will give you the Netflix database for you. I will explain that completely what is that database is about, what kind of data we have, and then we will start understanding our advanced content or concepts called as order by clause, SQL basic operators, range operator, membership operator, distinct limit. Okay, next we have functions. We have new number of functions in SQL. We will learn each and every functions clearly. Next, joins, the most important concepts of SQL. We have many joins. We learn each and every join by using the real-time database. I'll give many examples to you, and especially for joins I will give you some examples as an assignment for you also. It's your wish. If you want, you can solve that so that you can understand whether you are getting, whether you can able to understand or whether you can able to write on your own the syntaxes or not. Next we have regular expressions, group by clause, having clause, aggregations, subqueries. In subqueries we are having two concepts, correlated and non-correlated subqueries. Next we'll have normalization, normal forms, diagrams, views, indexes, temporary tables, stored procedure. This is our course content. At the end I will discuss you with interview questions also, important interview questions which they are asking very frequently. Okay, this is about the course content. So if you, this basically whatever concepts I shown you here, if you learn these concepts, that will be only our SQL concepts, whether you use SQL Server, MySQL, or what we have PostgreSQL, whatever I wrote here under RDBMS. All the concepts and all the syntaxes are same. If you learn MySQL, all those concepts and all those syntaxes you can apply in any of this tool, either SQL Server, PostgreSQL, Oracle SQL, MySQL. Okay, clear?
Yeah, madam. Madam, I have a small doubt.
Yes, please.
Madam, suppose if I write a data into a Excel or a notepad, I'll
Okay,
save it in a file.
correct.
For example, I save it in I created one notepad. In that
Okay.
I created tables and everything.
Okay,
And I created some file dot
I
some.
understood. Okay, you give
Yeah.
some extension and you will save that file. So how we will save this files in SQL? That's it, right?
I'll save it in the so normally when I save button, it will go into C
Correct.
drive or so whatever it is.
Correct.
Yeah. By using that SQL language or how to trigger that? That means there is a pipeline between those two. How to identify some X file? I have to take and retrieve the file and do the. I'll get the database data.
See, I hope you are asking me about how we are we are storing data in the form of Excel files, and how we are able to get that data in the databases kind of thing you are asking me, right?
From database to how do we connect SQL to database?
Okay, let me show you quickly. Tomorrow I will show you very clearly, but first we will install a SQL Server database here. Inside it we will have the database here. For now I cannot show you directly because we are almost done with the time. I have
Yeah.
next batch. Okay, so tomorrow I will show you very clearly that how we will create the databases, how we will connect to the SQL, and this is the file formats. And guys, this is how, once I'm done with every class, what I'll do, I will keep all this theory part and all the syntaxes in one file, and I will save this file. I will send this file as notes for you. Okay. And as you are asking, Ramu, I'll explain you detailing in tomorrow's class how we are because, or else you can please wait. Once we are done with the limitations of Excel, I'll show you the user interface of MySQL. Then I will explain you, this is the MySQL user interface, what is each and every tools are there, how we are connecting to it, how we are creating database, how we are creating tables, everything we will learn very practically. At that time you can understand how we are saving this data, how we are connecting to the SQL, everything you can able to understand. Okay. Is that okay, Ramu?
It's okay, ma'am.
Okay, great. All right, guys, you are done with the time. My next batch is waiting. If you don't mind, I'll end the session if you don't have any doubts. Let's meet in tomorrow is also demo only. Let's meet in tomorrow's class, and I will continue this tomorrow. I will explain about limitations of Excel and how we are overcoming that with the SQL, and then I will show you the user interface of SQL Server. And let's try to understand about SQL Server and creating how we'll create databases and all. Okay. Yes, Nitish, do you want to ask me something?
Ma'am, you are saying also that this is a SQL developer or SQL server it will comes under or MySQL.
This is SQL developer role actually. So in the developer role, basically for SQL, we'll have SQL developer, SQL admin. Admin is completely different. Okay. We are talking about developer roles only. In developers, these are some tools. MySQL is one tool, SQL Server is one tool, like that. Suppose you will use some OnePlus phone, I will use some Samsung phone, like that. Some companies will use MySQL Server, some companies will use SQL Server, but whatever we are writing, that is all about the SQL syntaxes, and this is the role of SQL developer. Okay,
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
great. All right, guys, let's meet in tomorrow's class. Okay.